Yes, I believe we're live on Twitter. Welcome to Gamcast Early Edition. It's just about 1 o'clock. Today we're here to talk about Pennsylvania's recent election decisions, both of which have gone in favor of essentially giving a boost to Kamala Harris. If you like this content, please comment, share, and subscribe, folks, especially for you folks listening later on Twitter, Rumble, and other mediums. Anyway, so getting right to it, folks, you probably already heard recently that Cornel West was kicked off the ballot. Now, we all know that Cornel West was going to take ballots from Kamala, going to take a lot of ballots from Kamala, okay? And so there's no reason to kick him off other than the fact that he's going to take votes for her. Now, of course, they have to come up with some legal reasoning. And so the judge, and she's supposedly a Republican, but she rules Democrat all the time, her reasoning was of the 19 electors that West would have to have later if he were to win the state of Pennsylvania and have to send electors to the Electoral College on January 6th, that 14 of them were invalid because their affidavits were incorrect. Why were their affidavits incorrect if you read the opinion, which I have? Well, because they said they were nonpartisan, but they ran as something earlier in the year. Let me tell you how this works, folks. That has never been the standard under the law. I can vote Democrat today and the next day claim I'm a Republican. That's perfectly valid. It's always how you intend to be, how you intend to identify yourself. And obviously, they thought they were filling out proper affidavits. Otherwise, they would have just said, hey, I'm a Democrat. I ran in the office, right? They don't need to do that. Not to mention, it's hyper-technical and could have been cured. But, okay, we're in Pennsylvania. The rule is you got to get it. We're going to nip and tuck. Everything's got to be proper, right? Well, then you would say, well, if you mail in a ballot, right, here we are, ABC News, folks. Court stops Pennsylvania counties from throwing out mail-in ballots of incorrect envelope dates. Well, the rule, we just saw with Cornel West, is you got to strictly comply with the law. So if you don't write the date correctly that doesn't match the one that you wrote on the inside, we get to toss that out, right? Oh, no. We don't do that. That would be different. The refusal to count undated or incorrectly dated but timely mailed, I think they mean mailed, says mail, ballots were submitted by otherwise eligible voters because of meaningless and inconsequential paperwork. Really? Bias much there, Judge? Errors violates fundamental right to vote, writes Judge Eileen Sessler for the majority opinion. There was one dissent. It was 4-1. Now, folks, let me explain how this is going on. First off, that's not the law. That's idiocy. She's basing it on the Pennsylvania Constitution. Let's back up, right? The Pennsylvania Constitution says the legislature gets to pick how you vote. Pennsylvania, like every state in the union, you had to show up on election day, unless you had an excuse. You would then be mostly permitted to cast an absentee ballot, for which you had to have an excuse. I'm out of the country fighting a foreign war. I'm in a hospital, etc. Okay? Now, mail-in ballots different. Mail-ins, we just send mail ballots to everyone, and then you return them in whatever mechanism is possible. Now, that was not legal in Pennsylvania in 2020. The governor did it based on fiat. So they came back and they said, all right, look, we got to have rules for this. And so Republicans instituted a bunch of rules to make mail-in more like absentee. One of them is you've got to date the ballot and you got to date it on an envelope outside. Now, the judge says inconsequential and meaningless paperwork errors. Well, let me tell you something, folks. It ain't meaningless. It ain't consequential. If you write one date on the ballot and then another date on the outside, that is pretty good indication of something that starts with an F and ends with a D. Right? So it's not inconsequential. Setting all that aside, this is a luxury, right? Pennsylvania can obviously, under their Constitution, say you have to vote on election day or you have to be sick in the hospital or fighting in a foreign war, hence absentee. They've created this new way to do it, which is a luxury, which is a benefit. They can set restrictions, right? It's absurd. Now, what's going on here, and I have no proof of this, I don't know, but I believe what is going on, and I think is they are just setting up the predicate for we're going to count every vote. We're going to count every vote. Every vote's going to count. All these rules you have is disenfranchisement, right? And then you go wherever you want to go with that. But folks, that is not election day voting with ID, absentee, the way the system has always been. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please share, like, subscribe, and comment. And if you do, I will see you on the next one.